and my dear colleagues. So we are observing the 105th birth anniversary of a great scientist, Dr. Norman Ernest Borlaug. See, when I stand here in this organization, I would like to recall the one sentence which Professor Swaminathan has written. But for the World Food Prize, this institution wouldn't have been there. And this World Food Prize, in fact, that prize was constituted by Dr. Norman Borlaug. And this World Food Prize is known as the Nobel Prize of Food and Agriculture. And Dr. Norman Borlaug, 1970, he received the Nobel Prize for Peace. For one reason, see, if you look at the Norman Borlaug's foundation, they made a very clear statement. But for Borlaug, see, the lives which he has saved, millions of lives from the very acute poverty and hunger. So Dr. Norman Borlaug's work saved millions of people trapped in poverty. So Dr. Borlaug, by training, see, if you look at his training, he has been trained as a forester. He started his academics with a forest degree. He completed his forestry in BS. And then he moved on he served as a forester. And he took his PhD in the area of plant pathology. But later on, he got interest in the agronomy of the wheat. And his greatest contributions in the area of wheat revolution, I would say. He worked in the Mexican region, the Mexico, with the part of the Rockefeller Foundation. And there he developed, he and his team developed those varieties which in fact saved the people from the hunger and poverty. So India, Professor Swaminathan is actually his very strong disciple, I would say, another great scientist of a great leader. So from this foundation, Professor, again, in fact, if you look at the founding objective of this organization, whatever we have gained in the Green Revolution, to defend the gains of the Green Revolution, and also to address the shortcomings of the Green Revolution. Green Revolution had the negative externalities, and also to take the benefits of the Green Revolution to the newer areas. That is what professors, yes, he made a very clear statement, defending the gains and addressing the shortfalls and gaining in new areas. So when we remember Dr. Norman Borlaug, I would like to remember, so that journey from Green Revolution to the Evergreen Revolution. So from there only the complete sustainability dimension comes in, because Norman Borlaug looked into the kind of poverty and hunger. Because particularly if you look at now, the world population is going to stabilize by 9 billion, perhaps 9.5 billion people by 2050. So how do we feed these 9 billion people and from the diminishing land resources, from in the background of the climate changes? So it's very, very difficult unless you produce more from the limited land. So this is where, Borlaug always had been very vociferously, very strongly he had been advocating. And there, say, professor will be remembering him. So when as the kind of a newer generation student of Borlaug and Professor Swaminathan, I would like to remember this occasion, the 105th birth anniversary of Borlaug, by contributing to the complete sustainability dimension, the ecological sustainability, the economic sustainability, and the social sustainability, the three pillars of the sustainable dimension. So this organization, we are working for the goals of that evergreen revolution. How do we make the evergreen revolution into a movement. So with these few words, I would like to welcome all of you. And we have some excellent panel here. Professor Swaminathan will be speaking in the first. And we have Dr. Shivasamy. He is the head of the Wheat Research Institute in Wellington, one of the very oldest centers in India. So he is heading that center, and he has his colleague with him, Dr. Vikas. So he will be talking about the triticum dicoccum, the history of how the triticum dicoccum has been dicoccum only, no? Yeah, they evolved in that part of India. And we have our former executive director, Dr. Velayudham. So he will be speaking about he will be trying to link the sustainable agriculture and Burlock's contribution. And our colleagues, Dr. Israel Oliver King and Rangalakshmi. Rangalakshmi is handling, in fact, has been handling the Norman Borlaug Youth Fellows. The Borlaug Foundation, they encourage these youth fellows, the high school students and college students, all over the world they send to work with the farmers. So every year MSSRF host this youth fellow for the past few years, and Dr. Rangalakshmi is coordinating that. And Oliver also had experience visiting Burlock Institute in US. So with these few words, I welcome the panel and welcome all of you to this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anil. Now I request Professor M.S. Swaminathan, the founder of MSSRF, to deliver the presidential address remembering Dr. Borlaug.
Okay, working all right. I think it's a good day to remember. Remembering Borlaug means remembering recent advance in agriculture. During the last 50 years, what has happened, he has played a key role in the agricultural transformation of many countries. Those of you who are interested in exactly what happened in India, there is a publication which was the first one from the MSSRF soon after he established the center. He suggested why not we have a sort of get together of all those who were working in 1960s and hear from their own voice what was responsible for the transformation. In other words, the book is published and you can look at Gene Revolution, dialogue. It's called a dialogue, which you put it in. We can go on speaking about him, but I would like to highlight 3 or 4 fundamental changes he had made in subsequent agricultural history. The first one was his emphasis on public good research than private profit research. In other words, if these days, if you can patent all the things which Borlaug did, you can get a lot of money. I'm mentioning because in the case of the gene revolution, gene editing and so on, everything is patented now. In those days, his only concern was how to get the technology to the poor farmer. In fact, he told me when we received 4 varieties of wheat from him, Lerma Rojo 64A, Lerma Rojo, Sonora 63, Sonora 64, and Mayo 64. He said if it will help you change the name to Indian names so that it doesn't look like foreign name. In other words, he didn't care whether he get a patent, whether he get money and so on. What is important is to ensure that good technologies reach the people who should have. His whole contribution in the field of science, I first met him in 1953, I think, at the University of Wisconsin. He gave a lecture on gene revolution, but it was a different kind of lecture. The short varieties had not yet come, the Norrin dwarfing genes had not yet come at that time. So he talked about how to achieve genotypic diversity and coupled with phenotypic homogeneity. You have a phenotype which is common, but genotype is diverse. One method of ensuring that the disease resistance doesn't break down, otherwise it will break down. His emphasis was also on how to utilize sunlight in the best possible way, what we call harvest index. How much of the photosynthetics go to the grain? How much go to the other parts of the plant? He wanted to at least 50% of the photosynthetics to go to grain formation. The harvest index, higher harvest index, was one of the reasons why the yield was high. Similarly, he wanted to accelerate breeding. He knew that in North India, only one crop of wheat can be grown. So he said, why not we do shuttle breeding, which he had done in Mexico. One crop in North India, one crop in South India. I think we are going to hear what is happening in the Nilgiris. Same in the case of rice, one crop with a long duration and the other crop with short duration varieties and so on. So he introduced shuttle breeding method, which became afterwards common in all breeders. The other thing which we were very much interested is how to get public policy support agricultural research. Therefore, from the beginning, day one he came, I remember receiving him. He said, can I also meet the minister? I said, we'll ask for a time for the minister. Then the minister, C. Subramaniam, had not become the minister in that year. Next year he was the minister. There was no problem. With CS, no problem at all. You can go and see him at any time. But Jagjeevan Ram was the minister and he received him. And Jagjeevan Ram felt that the message of Borlaug was so important that we should take him to Indira Gandhi, who was then the Prime Minister. So he used to say, not only in India, but in other countries, because he strongly believed technology alone cannot help. Unless there is interaction between technology and public policy, you will not be able to make an impact. He taught us how to not only breed varieties of wheat, he was keen that young boys and girls. In fact, one of my first students, George Varghese, he took him to Mexico and his whole career was there. He wanted to encourage the young people to do their best and above all, get government give more priority to agriculture. Agriculture should not be considered to be the profession of the illiterate and of the landless. It should be the profession of people who studied, who are educated, and landless poor should be helped through cooperative farming to take advantage of the new technology. Well, having worked with him for over 50 years, I can go on mentioning about various qualities, but I would like to again emphasize his human qualities, apart from his scientific capability, his human quality. Science for the public good was his main consideration. Why I'm saying is today science has become for private profit. Science no longer is getting the public good as the main consideration. There is consideration. So we should always remember Borlaug. When we remember Borlaug, what we are remembering is some of the principles for which he stood, his determination. He was a forester in the beginning, and then he went to the University of Minnesota, and he had specialized in rust and pathogens, plant breeding for high resistance and so on. But I would say, when I look upon his contribution, I told you the contribution like shuttle breeding from one place to the other and so on. Those are important, but more important to me was the man behind all this. Behind all this discovery, behind all this work, the person behind was a remarkable person. And we should remember Borlaug, his qualities of public service, and above all, his interest in ensuring high degree of education, a high degree of emphasis on education, wherever he went. In fact, I remember 64, when the last day of, that was the same, the birthday that year, he left to Pakistan. But my wife at that time, on the last day, we had come back from Pantnagar after planting the new seeds. My wife did not tell me also. She had arranged Mexican food, a Mexican dance in the what we call the botany division. The genetic division is now called. In the lawn of that, suddenly Mexican dancers came and food came. Borlaug was really taken aback. He said it is the same technology we should use for science. We should do our best to ensure that the best available technology is available. So we salute him, we remember him, and I think the idea of remembering is good just to once again underline the very basic principles on which his work was based. The principle of humanism, the principle of ensuring that there is no one go to bed hungry in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Now we are getting into the panel discussion. I request Dr. M. Sivaswamy, the regional head of iCare IARI at Wellington, to deliver a speech on 65 years of research contribution of iCare IARI, regional station in Wellington, actively supported by Dr. Norman Borlaug. Please, sir, please take the podium.
Very good morning to all. Respected and beloved Dr. Professor Swaminathan ji and former director MSSRF Dr. Vailadhan sir, present director Dr. Anil Kumar ji, and other colleagues who are present here, and then experts participating to remember the great scientist and the contributor to the food security in the world, the father of Green Revolution, Dr. Norman E. Borlaug. In fact, he has quoted one very important quote: "The greatest service we are doing to the world is a way of contributing a grain crop." So he is a great scientist who revolutionized particularly wheat production by introducing semi-dwarf wheat varieties. He has found this Norintan gene from the Japanese gene pool, and he developed a variety called Bravo and took it to USA. And then from there, he took that material to Summit and developed semi-dwarf varieties. And with his support, because of the active role played by Dr. Professor Swaminathan and Dr. C. Subramaniam, he could bring those material to India with a great difficulty. And the first seed was sown when they brought in summer month. They planted it at Wellington to increase the seed quantum. So that's that led to Green Revolution in India. So with this background, I would like to present the 65 years of research contribution of IRI Regional Station Wellington, which is actively supported by Dr. Norman E. Borlaug. And I should further say that it was supported by Dr. Swaminathan as well. So this station is located in the Nilgiri Hills in 1,650 what do you call MSL, and also equal quantum of rainfall 1,650 mm. It's distributed throughout the year, particularly received through bimodal rainfall pattern, and we have really about 42.3 acres of land located in a very ideal place. For wheat, we can have at least 2 crops in a year, and for our research purpose, we are taking 3 crop cycle in a year. That's a great facility. If you just look at worldwide, this is one of the best sites, particularly due to speed up for speed breeding and accelerated breeding. This is the best site. And the background was established in the 1954 under the All India Coordinated Rust Control Program. and the station played a very pivotal role during the post-Green Revolution period and well augmented to meet the challenges of evergreen revolution and Indian food security. The mission is to develop new wheat germplasms with a low terminal disease value through integration of new resistant genes and organization of national off-season nursery for winter crops. The mandate is to breed for disease resistance and high yield for under the agroecological conditions occurring at the southern hills, and transfer major resistant genes into commercial cultivars, and saturation of these resistant varieties in southern hills, because this is the hot spot for foliar disease of wheat, particularly rust. From there, the spread of rust taking place to other parts of the country. That's the reason why, to contain the rust inoculum and the further epidemics in other parts of the country, we have to saturate the southern hills with the resistant varieties so as to contain the rust. And then also organization of national nursery. It was started in the year 1964 because, as Professor mentioned, that wheat can be grown only one season north, and to develop a variety, normally 9 filial generation is required. And that means the scientists located in other parts in North India, they have to wait for 9 to 10 years to develop a germplasm or a variety to see the limelight. But when they bring it to Wellington, as he mentioned, the subtle breeding is one of the concept put forward by Dr. Borlaug that's been followed. So since 1964, we extend this facility to nearly about 35 to 40 centers in the country. Of late, they extended the facility to other crops like brassica, triticale, barley, and even winter pulses. Even high altitude sugarcane was also maintained at Wellington. So actually, Norman E. Borlaug loved this station because this is one of the best sites, the hotspot, where you can really evaluate the material for resistance. Because all through the year on a sustainable plant, you will find black, brown, yellow, all three rusts. Around the year you can get it, and it occurs in a very severe form. That gives the opportunity for us to really screen. It's like a natural phytontron. So whenever he visited India, he visited Wellington. So in 1973, he visited, and he was spending his almost 1 week time there. And then when he came to India in 1996, he could not travel to Wellington, but he invited me to come and meet him at Karnal. So then he spent his almost very valuable 10-15 minutes to keenly listen what kind of work is going on. Then he encouraged me, please do good work and contribute because of the Wellington role, and the Indian food security is ensured. That's the word he has used, and I'm so lucky to be with him at the time. Then, in fact, during 1980s, at the end of 1980s, we are located in the midst of military area, cantonment area. So the MRC, Madras Regimental Center, and the DSSC, they want to take over the station area for their facility. Then this message was sent to Dr. Borlaug by Dr. Professor Swaminathan, and then he wrote a letter, very strong letter, to then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi to retain this station, because the importance of this station for Indian food security, particularly for wheat crop. He wrote a letter to Prime Minister. The Prime Minister called the Army Chief, and there itself, Prime Minister sanctioned nearly 1.5 crores and then asked the chief to hand over the station to ICAR under the facility. So this station got retained. Otherwise, by now, the station would have been taken over by the military. That's a great role he has played. And the further, he invited the Rockefeller Foundation to help the station to get the terraces made, because the land was not suited for mechanized plowing and so on, because the terraces were very small. Then Rockefeller Foundation, Dr. Anderson, he came over here, stayed for 5 years from 1965 to 70, and made nearly about 63 terraces, which can be plowed even by the tractor. For the small mechanization, it's possible. That's a great role played by Dr. Borlaug. The first Mexican variety was brought and planted in this field. So we are now writing to our like to name this plot after that burlak. So most probably by next year, by this plot will definitely be named after him. And further we developed facilities here in further 7 acres we extended the further terraces were made in 2007. Then we have the facilities like irrigation facility. The entire 43 acres can be irrigated through underground pipelines. Then we have protected area, because often these crops are being damaged by wild animals like wild boar and then bisons. Very often they come. So now we have fenced around the entire 43 acres, the facility we have. And then we have controlled conditions like net house, polyhouses, and then breeding lab and pathology lab. And also we have round the year crop facility. Then under the high disease pressure, acts as a natural phytotron. And we are maintaining large number of germplasm like wheat and wheat related species. More than 10,000 germplasm we are maintaining, particularly 3,000 accessions. And also last 5 years back, NBBGR had about 23,000 collections of wheat related species. They brought it to Wellington. After 65 years, they rejuvenated those material, and further we evaluated them. It became a what is it, a record for which one? And Limca book record. Then we have the small molecular lab for marker stud breeding, and also we have quarters and other facilities, glass house, then guest house. Then a large number of germplasm we are maintaining round the year. This is a germplasm collection we are maintaining. Then we have the National Off-Season Nursery Facility. Nearly 35 research stations are participating. Every year they send the material by May, June, then harvest by September, take back to the respective centers. They come for selection and also for small-scale multiplication of seed, and also back crosses and limited crosses. And then further we extended this facility to various crops like brassica, then this high altitude sugarcane, then winter pulses, then we have castor, then flax, lentil, and so on. Then we have a number of projects in operation here. We have in-house projects and externally a couple of externally funded projects. In-house projects, particularly on wheat improvement for wheat and barley, for productivity, disease resistance, climate resilience, quality, and cropping system perspective in different agroecologies. We are playing as a coordinating center for the main project in New Delhi, division of genetics. And also we have a pathology project, particularly on the rust dynamics and epidemiology. And also we are coordinating with in-house projects of sugarcane breeding institute for germplasm conservation and utilization. Then we have nearly about 5 externally funded projects. One is on the CRP agrobiodiversity, or evaluation of germplasm against multiple diseases, particularly rust and powdery mildew. Then we have marker-assisted breeding of APR genes, because now the concept is to develop durable resistant varieties rather than incorporating dominant genes. Then we are now looking for adult plant resistant genes. Pyramiding out those genes will give you immunity for the crop and durable resistance. With that objective, we have a DBT program. And also we have a marker-assisted transfer of RS2 gene, one of the popular wheat varieties, C306, which is very popular for chapati making. And in that we have an ITC funded program to develop it as a semi-dwarf variety. Otherwise it is very tall, 105 to 110 centimeter tall. So now we are working on that program. And also new program on MR wheat improvement, where my colleague Dr. Vikas is coordinating. And also on alpha irradiation for the pollen germination and viability. One of my colleagues, Dr. Prakash, is doing on the BRNS programs. And with this, the number of nearly about 25 projects been implemented since I joined there, because the project based funding started in 1994 onwards. So since then we have a number of programs here operated here, and we got good funding. Through that we developed number of facilities, what I was listing earlier. Then improvement, we have a number of germplasms, particularly reels carrying this resistant genes. For example, 79 genes for leaf rust, and 60 and above number of the genes reported for stem rust, and equal number for the yellow rust. All of them we obtained from the gene bank from Sydney University. Dr. McIntosh helped us to get the material, and we are continuing to maintain and evaluate them against the pathotypes occurring in India, and we shortlisted a number of genes, and we started incorporating into the popular Indian bred wheat cultivars. More than 35 varieties we have taken up, carefully selecting varieties from each zone, nearly 3 to 4 varieties, the popular current varieties, and incorporating the genes to develop nils and also backcrossed material, and we are very successful in that. So these are the genes we have taken up right now, and up to the red which you have listed currently working, all those up to 9 genes already we have transferred, and the nils have been developed. More than 450 lines of the backcrossed lines we already developed, and we are shared with other scientists across the country. And this is stem rust genes we have taken up, and then this and then the right side was it was yellow rust. So nearly about 4 or 5 genes currently are under the incorporation into popular cultivars. This is the popular cultivars we have taken carefully across the zones, and after developing those material we are sharing with other centers. And through that we could able to release number of varieties. For that, for the methods we followed, like a backcross, limited backcross, top cross, two-way cross, then bulk pedigree, modified pedigree, and the concept Dr. Swaminathan was mentioning, that shuttle breeding we do. We take at least one generation to the respective centers, particularly Shimla and Delhi, and then Indore, Dharwad, and even Coimbatore, we are taking into the shuttle breeding program. Then of late, to confirm this gene transfer, we are working on this technique, biotechnological tool, a marker state selection we are doing, and we have a mini molecular lab to work on this. That's the work we are doing. This is a shuttle breeding material which I was mentioning about. Then through the shuttle breeding, we could develop a variety which is the photo and thermo insensitivity, and the variety when goes back to the respective center become wider adaptable, and then potential varieties are selected and multi-location, and the data is obtained. Then research accomplishments from 1954, we could release a number of dicoccum varieties like NP 200, 201, 202 got released from this center. And then the Safed-Lerma, Choti-Lerma, HW667, 517, 741, 971 were the earlier varieties released to contain the rust inoculum in the Nilgiris. The seeds were produced in large quantum and freely distributed to the farmers, so as to ask them, get the resistant varieties to contain the rust at Posea forest. So then this number of varieties we have released since 1990s. These are the varieties we have released here in India. Nearly 33 varieties we are part to it, and some of them are very popular, particularly HT2967, HT3086, and so on. And then the varieties developed to combat the UG99, where Dr. Borlaug is very much worried. And then immediately, after getting idea from him and visiting the Mexican lab and also Kenyan fields, we could develop this resistant varieties, transferring resistant genes. These are genes we are incorporated. Then the number of germplasm we registered with NPPGR for specific traits. These are the genes they carry. We registered with NPPGR. Then indirect contribution. This is we have played for the Indian breeders, particularly to get the material resistant ones. Then for rust pathotyping, we have done it about occurrence of leaf rust and stem rust pathotypes here, and field resistant status of Indian varieties. Then UG99 monitoring, we are continuously doing it because it has to survive only to Wellington. So we are carefully monitoring about that rust. Patha type. And then also we are doing a rust inoculum supply to some of the centers in Peninsular India. Then this number of awards our scientists got it. Then publication we made in several national and international repute journals, and then awards we got. Then in first, I was so lucky to get invitation letter from Dr. Burlak himself in 2009 when I went to Mexico. And then I was so lucky to be with him the 95th birthday. Then I was so lucky that he asked me to pull his wheelchair when he was going to the field. The whole day I was with him. I was so lucky to be with him. And then he invited to Kenyan nursery and also Mexico twice to participate in the research program training. Then I was deputed under this program through his Borlaug Global Rest Initiative to Sydney University as well for 6 months. Then other scientists like my colleague Jaiprakash, Vikas, and Manjunath have been invited, and the human resource development was done. And we are so lucky to get the team back here in India. CIMMIT team came, then BGRA team came, then Cornell scientists, they all visited here to interact with us, and they helped. The BGRA had a coordination program for South Asia. Their trainees are regularly coming, visiting to Wellington, particularly on rust survey surveillance. Then we are so lucky. While remembering Dr. Borlaug, I should, in fact, be thankful to Dr. Swaminathan. As soon as I took over as a head, I invited him. He was kindly accepted and considered. He visited our station on 31st of December 2013. And he came and interacted with us, and he was keen to visit our exhibits and interacted with the scientists who made the presentation. Then he planted a tree at the Green Revolution plot. And then now it's grown into a big tree now. Really, we are so lucky. And he spent the whole day visiting fields and then interacting with the media. And he was keen to visit even the facilities, various facilities at Wellington, and the police station we have given it. Then this media coverage it was given. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to present and remember Dr. Borlaug, and also remembering the visits of Dr. Swaminathan. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Sivasamy. There's a small change in the agenda. Dr. Vikas would be speaking before Dr. Velaidam. I now request Dr. Vikas to take the podium. He would be speaking on on Triticum dicoccum, an old crop with promising future. Welcome, sir.
Good morning to all. So first of all, I thank the organizing, the MSSR Research Foundation, for giving this opportunity. Yeah, this one. Yeah. This one. Respected Professor Dr. M. Swaminathan, sir, former directors, present directors, colleagues, scientists. So very good morning. So I'm very fortunate that I have had this opportunity to speak in front of Professor M. Swaminathan. So actually, I have very little experience with either Dr. B. Borlaug or Swaminathan, sir. I just only read the things. So only once in my lifetime I have met Dr. Borlaug during my PhD studies in IRI. So he was lecturing for this BP Paul. There's a famous lecture series in IRI called as BP Paul lecture series. So he's delivering that address. I met him. But I can probably say that we are the generations of Borlaug, we can say, because I have benefited those legacies of Dr. Don Borlaug, because when I visited CIMMIT for a 3-month training for called as a basic wheat improvement course, so first thing they showed us that we should first thank Borlaug for giving this opportunity, because he was very particular that the young scientists and the newcomers who are in the wheat should be trained in CIMMIT for at least for 3 months. So still they are continuing that legacy, and I am one of the beneficiaries. So I learned a lot of wheat from during that CIMMIT 3 months training. So in that, so we are the generations of the generation beneficial of this Borlaug's legacy. And also during 2005 to 7, there is a big breakdown of SR31 gene. That is by UG99. So immediately he took a step that we should, all the scientists all over the world, wheat workers should coordinate together and form an organization or networking or some research to save the crop. That is called as the Borla Global Trust Initiative. So I also say, my head is a part and I was also a part. And we received recently, last year, we got the award called as BGRI Gene Stewardship Award, where I'm also a team member. So I would say I'm rather directly, indirectly the beneficiary of this Borla's legacy, you can say. And coming to my topic, just to make the scientist community aware that there is some crop which have some beneficial among the cereals other than wheat in wheat. So it's a MR wheat, Triticum dicoccum, an old crop or unreleased crop with promising future. So dicoccum is a tetraploid and is known by local several names. In Tamil Nadu is known as Samba wheat. In Kannada known as Jave, Sadaka, Samba. In Maharashtra known as Kapli. So in mostly it's known as a Kapli wheat. And in Gujarat, Popatya, and internationally it is known as farro wheat. Mostly in Italy, it's called in Italy, it's known as farro wheat. So it's hard threshing comparing to other wheat. It is hard threshing one. It's difficult to you can't thresh in by hand, and it has the ability to give good yield on poor and marginal soil, and it's resistant to stem and leaf rust. That's the important one. It's inherently resistant to stem and leaf rust, and it's tolerant to drought and heat stress also. These are some of the typical features of dicoccum. Then the traditional way you can see that it is a traditional crop of Nilgiris. So as my head explained that before the Britishers introduced tea, the Nilgiri hills and the southern hills, you can say it's very cool. So you can't grow rice. So the other crop, alternative crop is wheat. So in wheat, they used to grow Samba wheat, or the Triticum dicoccum. And after that, the Britishers forced to shift from dicoccum to wheat, tea. Then after in 1954-55, when the station was established, so we want to make the southern hills resistant to rust, because in this case we have to know about Paxinia path. So it's an important pathway revealed by Dr. K.C. Mehta and Dr. Nagarajan. So initial inoculum of the stem rust and leaf rust starts from Nilgiri hills and is moved towards the central zone. That is the path. That is Paxinia path. I'm very briefly telling. So to make these, this hotspot resistant so that the inoculum won't get transported to central India, they want to saturate the Nilgiri hills with some resistant varieties. So the first came was the Triticum dicoccum. I told it's inherently tolerant to or resistant to leaf and stem rust. So then it was grown as to break that Paxinia path. So before going into the real topic of why it is functional, so depending on the individual, the food can be used as a medicine or as a food or as a poison. So functional food is nothing but it gives an extra nutrient compared to the already available nutrients. That's called as a typical or simple definition for functional food. So why it is functional? You can say it's a cereal crop which has 15 to 16% is average. It can go up to 20, but it's average. The 15 to 16% protein is there in that Triticum dicoccum, followed by high dietary fiber of 60%. It's very high content, and it has got high resistance starch, which is now getting very popular for the diabetic patient. And there's a slower carbohydrate in vitro digestibility, and the glycemic index, the score which is used to divide the food based upon the score, high, medium, and low. So it has a low glycemic index, and it's got high antioxidant compounds, yet to be studied. What are the compounds? Still is not studied properly. Then high satiety value. If you eat little, it will give us the fullness, and it has got it can reduce the total lipids, triglycerides, and the LDL level. So that's highly recommended for the CVDs, the cardiovascular disease patients. So in the dietary management of diabetes and CVDs, it's one of the important. It can be used as important diet. So just a very brief about what is diabetes and glycemic index. You know, the diabetes is a condition wherein you can't produce, or the insulin has no effect. So in India is called as this capital. India's second most highly diabetic infected country. So you can see among the diabetes, among the states in India, you can see Kerala stands first, followed by Tamil Nadu and Gujarat. So these are the reports from various WHO and Lancet studies. So glycemic index indicates the food effect on person's glucose level. So how the food affects on the glucose level, that's called as glycemic index. So based upon that, they are divided into three categories: low, moderate, or medium, or high. So you can see the dicoccum comes in the low category of less than 55. So that means it releases the carbohydrate very slowly. So it won't allow the glucose level to shoot up immediately in the blood. Compared to rice, is this benchmark. It called score is around 90 to 100. So whenever you consume rice, it will immediately shoot up their glucose level in the blood. So the background is there. You can see the NP 200, 201, 202 mainly to contain the rust inoculum. They're highly tolerant to rust, but they are very tall lodging and low yield, but the quality is very high. So now you can't recommend that for the farmers. So then there's a need for semi-dwarf and high yield with high quality variety. So what is the problem is that the availability is very limited. So they tried with the another tetraploidy triticum durum, but when they cross the durum and the dicoccum, what happens? The quality is under stake. So we want a variety which is having the same quality as the dicoccum. So what we did? Just we went for a mutation. So let me see how the mutation occurs. So we did it with the bark, and we have a mutation, and we got a very good mutant. So we used a triticum, dicoccum cultivar NP201 using gamma rays with cobalt 60 at the bark, and of this treatment, 200 seems to be the best one, and we got we rerated some 1,000 seeds, and we got in M5, in M2 we got a very semi-dwarf mutant, and we studied the quality and the yield parameters, and therefore we got a stable line. So you can see this is the parent NP201, and this is the mutant. So you can see this is the grain with us, this is the grain, and this is the product which is usually available in the market, the broken grain. So you can see the reduction is around 20%, but that it compensated in the form of increase in the productive tillers, stem thickness, and increase in yield of around 35 to 40% without affecting the quality. That's important. So you can see the quality, mainly the protein. You can see it's around 16.8, 7.25, and simulationally, and the beta carotene is also more or less same. So we are able to retain the same quality at the same time, dwarfing, and the yield is also not affected. So the take-home message is that the cereal crop with high protein, high dietary fiber, high resistance charge, and low glycemic is very rare, and this is one of that. All the combinations are there in the dicoccum. So it's the even now for limited diversity, mutation can be used as a tool for breeding. And dietary management of diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, it can be used as a, right? You can see the new products like sugar release control. This is mainly due to resistant starch. So current view of dietary carbohydrate as only providing energy should be reconsidered. So that our kitchen cabinet can be used as a medicine cabinet. So now I'm studying about the dwarfing gene and also the resistance genes present in that. There are so much can be studied in dicoccum. So thank the ICR, IRI, and the bark. There are so much scientists involved in this creation variety. So I'm thanking all these who is involved in that. And I end my talk with food as medicine. So let food be the medicine and medicine be the food. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas. Now I request Dr. M. Velaidam, former Executive Director, MSSRF, to deliver a speech on Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and sustainable agriculture.
Then this one. Yes, okay. Respected founder, chairman of this great institution, Dr. Sivaswamy and Dr. Vikas, and my dear colleagues and friends of this institution. At the outset, my thanks to the founder chairman for giving me this opportunity to join with all of you with my own thoughts and prayer in memory of Dr. Norman E. Borlaug. He was the architect of Green Revolution, father of Green Revolution. But beyond that, revolution is a spurt. He was the undercurrent of Renaissance in agriculture. So he was both. On one side of the coin, he was Renaissance. On the other side of the coin, he was a spinner of the revolution. You all know that Leo Tolstoy wrote a book on war and peace. And although he was nominated for Nobel Prize in Literature in 1901, since it was a political climate of Napoleonic era, it was denied for him. Dr. Borlaug changed that title, War and Peace, to Food and Peace through the Green Revolution. And he got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. When you said that our chairman referred that food safety and zero hunger, global population,
But Subramanya Bharati, the Puratchi Kavingar, we say in Tamil, he told in one of his poems, Tani oruvanukku unavu illayeniil ichagathine alizhithiduvom. That is the type of a fierce statement that comes from a fiery poet. And true to that statement, even at the fag end of his lifetime, Dr. Norman Borlaug made a lecture and it came as a publication. It is still in the table here. Feeding 10 billion world population by 2050 in his lecture at the IFDC in USA. Some of you should read that 29-page booklet. We pay honor and reverence to Norman Borlaug because when I read this Jonathan Swift statement, whoever could grow a blade of grass on a spot of ground where none was before, or 2 ears of corn where one grew before, or strive to produce a liter of milk where a trickle was before, does the best service to the mankind and deserves more honor than the whole race of social workers put together. In a subtle way, I can add, instead of social workers, the politicians put together. Going back the memory lane, the seeds of wheat revolution in India was sown in the fields of Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. Some of the photos you must have seen in the quadrangle in the photo exhibition. And I was fortunate to work at IRI from 1969 with Dr. Ramamurthy by the help of Dr. Swaminathan, who placed me there in my initial career. And Dr. Ramamurthy produced a paper in 1967 entitled Fertilizer Application for Specific Yield Targets of Sonora 64 Wheat, one of the 4 varieties which Professor Swaminathan mentioned just a few minutes before, Sonora 64 from Mexico. And it was published in Indian Farming Journal of ICAR. The concept in that paper, the original concept in that paper was sustainable soil fertility management through soil testing, and then applying fertilizer for specific yield target that the farmer has in mind by taking into account what the crop needs for so much yield target, what the soil can supply from the available nutrients, what the rest has to be supported by manures and fertilizers. It's a prescription method, like a doctor prescribes a medicine. The concept of soil testing based sustainable soil fertility management paper evolved into an all India coordinated research project on soil test crop response correlation in the country by ICAR in collaboration with state agricultural universities, initiated in 67, 68, and still continuing to serve the different types of soils in the country and different types of cropping systems in the country. This concept and project motivates and will motivate the farmers for practicing the word, you remember this word because it comes in the next slide, quality soil management and maintenance of soil fertility for realizing the desired yield targets according to the particular farmer's capability in terms of resources. I said that quality soil management or soil quality management. Dr. Borlaug himself wrote this article in association with Soka and Upchurch. Quality soil management or soil quality management, performance versus semantics, published in the Advances in Agronomy in 2003. There the authors, including Dr. Borlaug, articulate so well that the terms, and particularly in soil science literature, when a new term is introduced, people join as in bandwagon. The soil quality, soil health, these are the terms which are now engaging the upcoming soil scientists. But they mentioned a caution in this particular review article saying that soil performs diverse, simultaneous multifunctions. And therefore, the definition of a soil quality by a single rating method, 0 to 10, or numerical rating, as it's a highly good soil, bad soil, intermediate soil, or whatever it is elusive and value laden. And the soil condition, therefore, is the ability of the soil to perform according to its own potential for the intended purpose. And soil condition also changes over time due to human use and management or mismanagement or to unusual natural events. And this is succinctly captured in our own Vedas. You see the two lines quoted in Atharva Veda about the ancient agricultural farmers of India whispering to the soil, the Mother Earth, "What of thee I dig? Let that quickly grow over. Let me not hit thy vitals or thy heart." This is the essence of soil quality. I was fortunate to see him, be with him for a few minutes in 1971 when he visited IARI. Along with Dr. Ramamurthy, he came to our soil testing laboratory and discussed that particular article written by Dr. Ramamurthy in Indian Farming. And that way I explained the targeting of yield based on soil testing and followed by the prescribed application of fertilizers and manures, and at the same time maintain soil fertility over time. Because even in the National Commission on Farmers 2006 final policy document report, our professor chairman, soil health maintenance is the first prerequisite for evergreen revolution. It's fundamental to evergreen revolution. So Dr. Norman Borlaug was very happy when he discussed this concept with us at the IARI. And that finally he told, "Oh, wonderful concept. You have tailor-made the fertilizer prescription." This is the word he used. You have tailor-made the fertilizer prescription according to the kind of soil and its supporting capacity. And the yield which the farmer will wish to raise that potential from the existing yield level, the bridging the yield gap, as they say. Ladies and gentlemen, in short, in two lines, if you want to pay our homage to Dr. Borlaug, these are the two lines. His life and work was an inspiration. His memory is a benediction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Velaidam. I request Dr. R. Rengalakshmi, Director of Ecotechnology at MSSRF, to take the podium. She would share the experience of MSSRF with Borlaug Ruan interns.
Good afternoon to all. Now, Foundation is having a kind of an rare opportunity to host the Borlaug interns since '98 in the Foundation. And before I get into the MSSRF's experience with the interns, about the internship which the Borlaug Foundation, that is the World Food Prize, is hosting to promote youth in science and technology and their interest to build their career in addressing some of the global challenges in food security. This is basically to inspire high school students to embark on career path in science, agriculture, and global development issues. And in this process, it is a kind of an opportunity to get hands-on experience in working with world-renowned scientists and researchers, as well as the policymakers at the leading research center around the globe. And this World Food Prize organization has identified 34 organizations around the world to provide a kind of a unique opportunity for the young scholars. And so far, 300 plus students were received the opportunity. And it is basically from the underdeveloped and developing nations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and some of the Middle East countries also. And with reference to MSSRF, so far we have hosted 20 interns, 12 girls and 8 boys since 1999 in the areas of sustainable agriculture, food security, and the sustainable development. Across our field sites, they have studied and developed their capacities. The students are given an orientation about MSSRF work, encourage them to choose the theme of their interest. And their interest is a kind of a diverse one, starting from food security to health, nutrition, and food production practices, etc. And they do the review of the past work foundation has been handling in different field sites, and do the preliminary field visits, interact with farmers as well as field staff working in the sites, develop the research questions tool, spend more than 60% of the time in the field, consolidate their findings, report back in the form of seminar when they finish their internship. It's a kind of an 2 months fellowship. And there are 20 fellows during the different period from 1999 to 2018 so far. So for foundation, it's a kind of an unique opportunity to interact with the young fellows who are very dynamic and enthused to learn new things in the field. And most of them are coming from the urban background, and 12th pass in Indian context, it is equal to 12th standard, and gain rural experience to learn and recognize the issues of rural poor. And it develop a kind of a motivation on them to pursue career in development. That is the main objective of this internship, by which the World Food Prize has developed this concept. And finally, they act as an ambassador of MSSRF work among the peers and networks in their region, and through which we are receiving calls for subsequent internship in the foundation. And this year also we got an email request from them to host a fellow in the foundation, and we still continue to do that. And on this occasion, it's a kind of an great opportunity for the young scholars to be in science and work on the developmental issues. The World Food Prize, developed based on Norman Borlaug's Nobel Prize initiatives, provide a kind of a base for the young scholars to gain interest on this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rengalakshmi. Now I invite Dr. E.D. Israel Oliver King, Principal Scientist at MSSRF, to speak on Dr. Norman E. Borlaug Inspiring Youth.
Beloved Professor, senior colleagues and friends, it gives me immense pleasure to be here to remember Dr. Norman Borlaug. I had last October, I had an opportunity to visit Iowa State in US as a part of global youth mentorship program. And to give some background on the contribution of Norman Borlaug, he born 1914 in a small village called Creso in Iowa State. This is an agricultural state in US. We all know his contribution in terms of ending hunger through science innovation and developing high yield varieties in Mexico. And that has been a driver for him receiving a Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. And subsequently, he has been honored by the US state through different recognition.
Presidential Medal of Freedom, and recipient of Congressional Gold Medal, and so on. But we need to consider two milestone milestone program he has developed with Mr. John Ruan. John Ruan is the businessman, and he's an industrialist and also a philanthropist in state of Iowa. And with his family and their support, Dr. Norman Borlaug has instituted this World Food Prize in 1987. That is one of the key milestones. The other milestone is that in 1994, Dr. Norman Borlaug, again with the support of John Ruan, they have instituted the Global Youth Institute in Iowa. So these two institutes has been a driver for several scientists and scholars and also young students in the United States to learn about the important issues in food and nutrition security around the world and also poverty. You see here Dr. Ambassador Kenneth Quinn. He is now leading the Global Youth Institute in the US. As Ranga pointed out, every year there are about 200 exceptional high school students with the age group of 14 and 15. They passed out of the school. They go through a rigorous process of screening and apply for this, participating in the global event that happens for 3 days in Iowa in the month of October. There are several events, subsequent events happens in that 3 days. One of the key event is that these students, they participate in this Congress, World Congress, wherein the global leads in food and nutrition security, they participate and address the issues. And also the Global Youth Institute mentors. In MSSRF, there are many mentors are there. We are addressing those students' concern when they visit here. So similarly, different institutes, there are mentors, they participate in this event. The student, they get the opportunity. And also the high school student, they get the opportunity to participate in the roundtable sessions. Basically, they come with the thought process. They identify local issues, and also they identify issues in the other world, the third world countries. They come out with the concept paper that has been sent to the Global Youth Institute for screening processes. Then they attend it. They get the opportunity to participate in the Borlaug dialogue. It's a very popular dialogue. Every year it happens. They participate in that event, and also they get to know and inspired by the two important awards. One is the Youth Award, constituted by the Norman Borlaug, and also the Global Food Prize Award. So these 3 days events give them a lot of inspiration for the young kids of United States. And also the people have a long residence in US also have an opportunity to participate. People from other third world countries and so on. So as a part of our mentorship program, I had opportunity to attend there. The student, they come with different problems, and they send the concept paper that was discussed for a day. About half a day we spent there. This is a process of screening. Some of the bright students, this is a precursor. This is a basic eligibility, kind of program to get them enter into applying the Borlaug-Ruan International Internship. So that's a process they follow. As outcome of that, many of the bright students, they visit institutions like MS Swaminathan Foundation and so on. As Ranga pointed out, there are about 34 institutions. They are recognized to have this mentorship program around the world. And some of the students are here. I had opportunity to meet them during last year visit there. And also the foundation has been recognized for their support for their the student they are coming here. It happens in the 20th year anniversary program last year in Iowa State. The second important program I refer to is the Borlaug Dialogue. And many scholars and scientists, internationally renowned people, cutting across different disciplines, not only agriculture, across transdisciplinary, transboundary researches, they joins together and deliberate on today's event. Last year in 2018, these are the important theme lines they have discussed in the dialogue, where the children, even they are able to participate and understand and deliberate on that. It cuts across different important issues. Even the foundation, even today we are addressing on that. Now, looking at the nutrition aspect, hunger and poverty, biodiversity, and also the linking with markets, and also the public-private partnership program. So these are the important dimensions in the conference they have discussed. And I wish to show this picture. This is the World Food Prize Laureate, Hall of Laureates in Des Moines in Iowa. This is a newly renovated building there, and where all that World Food Prize operations, related things happening there. I was thrilled when I visited this place in the Borlaug, the founders boardroom, where Professor Swaminathan's pictures is on the wall. I was really thrilled to see inside. That's the only Indian Nobel Food Prize. He's a recipient of first World Food Prize, and you could see here his picture is on the wall here. So it was really amazing time for me to be there. And that is one, Dr. Norman Borlaug is inspiring the school kid at the age of 14 and 15. This is at the next level. There is one award is there. It's a Norman Borlaug 2018 for field research and application. This is endowed by the Rockefeller Foundation. This award is given for people at the age of 40 and below. Those researchers, scholars working on different aspects around the food, world food security, they have been awarded. Last year, Matthew Rose, he's also a pathologist, worked on wheat, particularly UG 99. It's a stem rest pathogen that affects the wheat crops. So he has been awarded these. So at next level, at the middle-age carrier also, Norman Borlaug is inspiring many of them. The third level is a matured scientist at the level of 60 and above, through the World Food Prize. It's equal. They call it as a Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture, and this has been given for the people who had worked hard and dedicatedly for improving the quality and quantity and availability of food in the world. And last year, Dr. Lawrence Haddad and David Nabarro, they were honored for their contribution in terms of addressing the maternal, reducing the maternal and early childhood malnutrition in Africa and Asia and Latin America. So Dr. Borlaug is inspiring all at different age and different people. And the students, right from the school children, they are participating in all the events in the 3 days. And also they get the opportunity to meet the current and past Nobel laureates. It was a very good opportunity for them to get inspired. And also the Nobel laureates present and past, you could see here Dr. Kush is also a World Food Prize laureate. He's addressing to the school children. And I would finally say that from Dr. Borlaug's his own words, food is a moral right of all who are born into this world. So it is a powerful message it conveys to us, the scientists and scholars and the leaders and the policymakers. We have a long years to go to address and ensure the food quality as well as quantity and also availability. I have just three minutes clip what the youth program intends. They actually imbibed through these processes. Just 3 minutes.
One of the defining moments of the Global Youth Institute for me was getting to talk to rural African farmers, because I had never been out of the country before, and it totally took me out of my borders, even though I was still in the US.
This summer, I conducted a research project on detecting and analyzing the nutritional content in soybeans to improve soy products to benefit human health.
I not only found mentors, I found my role models, I found the real heroes of society. And I was able to interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
All across the United States, hundreds of high school students just like these are starting on their own paths to join the fight against hunger through the World Food Prize youth education programs. The wide array of programs aims to educate and inspire the next generation of great scientific and humanitarian leaders. That was the shared vision of Nobel Peace Prize winner and World Food Prize founder Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and Des Moines entrepreneur and philanthropist John Ruan when they created the Global Youth Institute in 1994. Since then, the World Food Prize education programs have grown to be recognized as among the most innovative in the world. The Youth Institute, which introduces students to global food issues, has expanded nationally. And premier internship programs, both in the U.S. and abroad, provide promising young men and women first-hand experiences in the field and the chance to build upon their interest and interact with the world's foremost leaders and scientists. Each year, through the World Food Prize Youth Institute, high school students and their teachers explore and learn about the ever-increasing worldwide demand for food and the complexity of issues that affect food security, from water scarcity to gender equity. Students research and write papers about these pressing global challenges and gather at regional and state youth institutes to present their findings and discuss solutions with their peers, local, state, and international experts. The top students from across the United States then travel to Des Moines each October with their high school teachers to participate as delegates in the Global Youth Institute. Held in conjunction with a presentation of the $250,000 World Food Prize and the Borlaug Dialogue International Symposium, students and teachers participate in World Food Prize events and are immersed in an exchange of ideas with the world's top agriculture experts, research scientists, industry leaders, and heads of state leading the fight against hunger. Students who participate can then apply to become Borlaug Ruan International interns. Each summer, over 20 students are sent on life-changing 2-month research assignments in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. They work alongside leading research scientists in the field and laboratory to solve the most significant issues facing agriculture and the environment, economic development, and human health. Once in college, these exceptional young men and women may also become Wallace Carver interns, a unique opportunity to collaborate with prominent American scientists and policymakers through paid internships at USDA research centers and offices across the United States. Through this innovative program, talented students in agriculture, life sciences, and other fields critical to the fight against hunger learn firsthand to analyze agricultural and economic policy, assist in the management of food, nutrition, and rural development programs, and take part in groundbreaking field and laboratory-based research.
This experience has changed my life in numerous ways. It's made me consider majors I never thought I would consider 5 years ago. It's made me consider issues that weren't at the top of my list. And it added a whole different aspect to my life, and it really changed the course of where I wanted to be and where I want to be in 10 years. Because now I know that I want to be a fighter in this fight. I want to be in the ring, taking down food insecurity and really helping those around the world.
Agriculture, Nutrition, Health at MSSRF to deliver the vote of thanks.
I'm sure all of you will agree that this has been a very enriching session about the life and inspiring work of Dr. Norman Borlaug. On behalf of the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, I first of all would like to thank our founder, Professor Swaminathan, for guiding us in planning this session and for sharing his personal memories of this great man and the emphasis that he placed on public good and the need for public policy support for research, and which are issues that are so much relevant even today as our country faces agrarian crisis and farmers protests across the country asking for viable agriculture. It was very enriching listening to our scientist friends from the ICAR IARI Research Station, Wellington. Dr. Shivaswamy, thank you for sharing with us the work at the research station, and that the station owes its continued existence today to Dr. Borlaug's intervention at the highest levels, and to Dr. Vikas about your talk about emmer wheat, the nutritional qualities that he has. In fact, as you spoke, I was reminded of Dr. Nagarajan, former director of IARI, the wheat man of India, and I'm sure if he had been alive, he would have been one of the speakers here today. He worked with us after his retirement at IARI. And of course, the entire setting for this, Dr. Anil Kumar set the tone for the session as it began, the context that even our foundation itself started from the World Food Prize that Professor Swaminathan received. The corpus was the initial corpus with which the foundation started. And Dr. Velayudham for sharing your own insights about the inspiring work of Dr. Borlaug, and also bringing in insights from the soil perspective, your field of expertise. And my own colleagues, Dr. Rangalakshmi and Dr. Oliver, for sharing with us that the foundation, our continued association with the World Food Prize Foundation and the legacy of Dr. Borlaug, because that's something which we cherish and highly value, and that will continue in the years to come. So thank you all. Thanks to all the participants who've come from outside, the scientists and researchers, and my own colleagues and friends from the media who are here. Thank you, and do have a look at the photos and posters which are there outside. Thank you.
Let's have a photo session now, like a group photo.